Breaking tonight. A direct confrontation is unfolding at the highest levels of British public life. The Mayor of London and the monarchy are now engaged in a constitutional dispute with consequences that could reshape the balance of power in the United Kingdom. Over the next 48 hours, the political fallout may determine whether democratic authority or historic tradition holds primacy in Britain's future. 5 days ago, London Mayor Sadiq Khan unveiled what he called the London Citizenship Charter, a policy requiring businesses across the capital to sign diversity compliance agreements or face penalties of up to $50,000. In announcing the plan, Khan declared that London will lead Britain into the 21st century, whether the establishment accepts it or not. That statement quickly drew the attention of King Charles III. And for the first time in 3 centuries, the monarch invoked a rarely discussed constitutional mechanism known as crown intervention, a provision allowing the sovereign to formally question the scope of authority exercised by elected officials under exceptional circumstances. The king sent a letter to Parliament expressing concern that the mayor may have overstepped his remit. Then, in a striking move, Buckingham Palace made the letter public. The message was clear. This was not simply administrative oversight. This was a challenge. Khan's response came swiftly. Standing outside City Hall, his voice tense but defiant, he stated, "The unelected monarchy does not speak for the 8 million Londoners who voted for change. This is not 1825. This is 2025. Observers in Westminster immediately recognized the gravity. According to journalists present, members of Khan's staff attempted repeatedly to signal him to end the address, concerned about the escalating tone. Instead, Khan went further, directly criticizing the royal family's wealth and property holdings at a time when many Londoners are struggling with rising housing costs. The reaction was instantaneous, on social media, across political parties, and in communities across the capital. Then came the story that shifted public sentiment. James Morrison, a 73-year-old Falklands War veteran who lost his leg in service, was recently evicted from his London home under local housing allocation rules linked to City Hall's policies. He now lives with relatives, surviving on a modest pension. His emotional account, "I fought for Britain, and now Britain has no room for me in its own capital," was shared hundreds of thousands of times online. It became a symbol, a decorated veteran displaced, while City Hall's spending records revealed $2 million spent on diversity consultancy programs and $18,000 on a single luxury weekend retreat for staff. Public frustration grew rapidly. Polling shifted dramatically. Khan's approval rating fell 18 points in just 3 days. Among voters over the age of 50, support collapsed to 19%. Even among younger voters, long considered Khan's political base, support fell sharply. Meanwhile, King Charles addressed Commonwealth leaders in what is being described by palace sources as his most politically pointed speech since the beginning of his reign. He stated, "The traditions that bind this country together cannot be discarded by those who mistake temporary authority for permanent power. London belongs to all Britons." The room fell silent. Diplomats paused mid-conversation. Advisors reportedly urged the king to soften the wording. He declined. Late that night, Khan issued a sharply worded statement on social media challenging the monarchy's legitimacy to intervene. It was deleted minutes later, but by then the screenshots had spread nationwide. Political strategists from across the spectrum called it a damaging miscalculation. By the following morning, Labour Party leader Keir Starmer issued a brief but decisive statement. "The views expressed do not represent the position of the Labour Party. A public distancing of that kind is widely seen in Westminster as politically terminal." Financial markets reacted as well. The pound fell 0.3% after the king's remarks, a drop that erased more than £1 billion in value across London's financial sector. Analysts openly raised concerns about political instability in the capital. Protests have since erupted across the city, with pro-monarchy demonstrators and Khan supporters clashing outside key government buildings. Police confirmed multiple arrests and several injuries. London has not seen civic tension of this scale in years. Inside City Hall, reports suggest internal fractures are widening. Senior aides have threatened resignation. Close associates describe the mayor as exhausted, isolated, and increasingly reactive. One longtime advisor told reporters privately, "He knows he's in the fight of his political life, and he knows he may not win it." The confrontation is now larger than policy. It is a struggle over identity, authority, and the future direction of the United Kingdom. What happens next will determine far more than who holds office. It will determine what power means in modern Britain. But the direction of this story shifted dramatically today. The Telegraph has obtained what it says are leaked internal documents from the mayor's office. These include email exchanges from September, in which senior advisors appear to discuss the political advantages of confronting the monarchy directly. One message, attributed to the mayor's chief strategist, states, "We need a clear opponent. The crown is ideal, unelected, traditional, wealthy. Everything our base is already inclined to question." If verified, these documents suggest that the recent clash with the king may not have been a spontaneous reaction to constitutional intervention, but part of a broader political strategy, an attempt to galvanize progressive voters by positioning the mayor as the elected voice challenging an unelected institution. However, that calculation appears to have collided with the current mood of the country. Whatever political disagreements exist in Britain today, the monarchy remains a symbol that many still see as stabilizing. And the reality on the ground in London, rising crime, strained affordability, and growing social tension, has made that narrative much harder for Khan to sustain. Constitutional historian Professor David Starkey described the leaked correspondence as, quote, "one of the most deliberate political provocations I have seen in half a century of studying British governance." Sensing an opening, the Conservative leadership responded quickly. At a press conference this morning, party leader Kemi Badenoch issued a pointed statement. While the mayor focuses on the crown, Londoners face the real consequences: rising crime, soaring rents, and businesses leaving this city. The statistics are significant. Knife crime has risen markedly since Khan took office. Average rents have increased sharply. More than 10,000 small and mid-sized businesses have relocated out of the capital in the past year. And now, Conservative support in London has climbed to 42%, surpassing Labour for the first time since 2016. Badenoch is now in a position that would have seemed improbable just weeks ago, competitive in a future London mayoral election. The next 72 hours are critical. On Monday, Khan faces a potential vote of no confidence within his own party at City Hall. On Thursday, Parliament will hold an emergency debate over whether the mayor exceeded his constitutional authority. And on Saturday, large-scale protests are expected in central London, with organizers predicting attendance in the tens of thousands. At this point, the question is no longer simply whether Sadiq Khan can maintain his political position. It is whether London itself can withstand the instability that this conflict has triggered. Britain now finds itself witnessing something not seen since the abdication crisis of 1936. A direct challenge between an elected official and the crown. The stakes are not just political, they are constitutional and cultural. And at the center of this confrontation stands a mayor who appears increasingly isolated, and a monarchy asserting its role as a guardian of national continuity. So the question now being asked across the country is this: has Sadiq Khan overplayed his hand? Or has the king stepped beyond the accepted limits of constitutional convention? This is no longer simply a dispute between two offices. It is a conversation about democracy, legitimacy, and the future identity of Britain itself. More information is expected as verification of the leaked documents continues, and we will be analyzing those developments as they unfold. This is a story still in motion,